In the pristine enclave of Willowbrook Estates, where identical beige houses stood like soldiers under the watchful gaze of the Homeowners Association, a single act of defiance ignited a firestorm. The neighborhood was a postcard of suburban perfection. Sprinkler systems humming in unison, lawns trimmed to exacting standards, and the faint scent of fresh mulch in the air. But beneath this polished facade lurked a rigid system of control, enforced by Karen Kensington Wright, the HOA president whose name was synonymous with authority. At 52, with her white Lexus SUV and a ruler she used to measure grass blades, Karen ruled with an unyielding sense of entitlement, her clipboard a weapon of petty tyranny. The trouble began with a Jeep Wrangler parked in the driveway of 23 Maple Lane, a house inherited by Marcus Rodriguez, an Army Reserve MP recently recruited to a federal drug task force. The Jeep, rugged and unapologetic with federal law enforcement decals, was no ordinary vehicle. It housed $347,000 in classified surveillance equipment, GPS trackers, encrypted radios, covert cameras, essential for Marcus's covert operations against drug cartels. Deployed overseas, Marcus had left the Jeep secured with a heavy-duty chain, expecting it to remain untouched. But to Karen, it was a blemish on her curated kingdom, an unauthorized commercial vehicle that violated her fabricated HOA rules. Karen's reign was built on intimidation. She issued fines for Christmas lights lingering past January, cited residents for unapproved garden decor, and maintained a climate of fear that silenced dissent. Her husband, Carl, a city council member, amplified her influence, making her seem untouchable. When Marcus's sister, Maya, a gentle middle school teacher managing the property in his absence, received a violation notice for the Jeep, the fine was $50 per day, mounting while Marcus dodged danger abroad. Maya, clutching copies of Marcus's deployment orders, pleaded with Karen, explaining the Jeep's federal significance. Karen dismissed her with a sneer, suggesting the neighborhood might not suit their family. The tension escalated as Karen's notices grew more aggressive, threatening liens and towing. Neighbors whispered about her targeting of military families, the Johnsons fined for a loud motorcycle, the Martinezes cited for unprofessional garden gnomes. Maya uncovered the truth in old HOA bylaws. Government vehicles, including military and law enforcement, were exempt from restrictions. Karen was inventing rules, banking on residents' ignorance. Her actions weren't about aesthetics, but a calculated campaign to control and exclude. On a quiet Tuesday at 6:47 a.m., as dawn painted the sky, Karen crossed a line that would unravel her empire. Armed with bolt cutters, she marched to Marcus's driveway, her bathrobe flapping with purpose. The metallic clang of the cutters slicing through the security chain shattered the morning silence, a sound that echoed like a declaration of war. She directed a tow truck from Discount Dave's, paid in cash to avoid a paper trail, to haul the Jeep away. Unbeknownst to her, the vehicle's security system activated, alerting a federal task force control room. Marcus, roused in a desert outpost 8,000 miles away, watched via Maya's phone as Karen committed a federal felony. The Jeep's removal to the HOA impound lot marked the beginning of a saga that would expose Karen's corruption and ignite a community's rebellion, setting the stage for a dramatic confrontation. As the Jeep sat locked in Willowbrook's impound lot, Karen reveled in her victory, unaware of the federal storm brewing. She posted notices on community boards, boasting about enforcing standards and warning residents against similar infractions. Her confidence was unshaken, bolstered by years of unchallenged power. Neighbors, conditioned to comply, split into factions. Some applauded her decisiveness, while others, stung by past fines, whispered of rebellion. The air in Willowbrook grew heavy with unease, the scent of mulch now mingling with tension. Marcus, in a sweltering deployment tent, grappled with the violation of his family's legacy. The house, filled with memories of his grandmother Rosa's homemade tortillas and life lessons, was under siege. Maya, shaken but resolute, relayed the escalating threats. A registered letter demanding the Jeep's removal within 24 hours, carbon-copied to Carl's city council office, citing fictitious health and safety violations. The tow truck's circling presence, its driver eyeing the Jeep, added psychological pressure. Maya's voice trembled over the phone, the creak of their grandmother's floorboards a haunting backdrop to her fear. Digging through Rosa's old HOA files, Maya uncovered a chilling pattern. Meeting minutes from 2019 revealed Karen's opposition to military housing programs, arguing they disrupted long-term community investment. The Johnsons, Martinezes, and others with military ties faced fabricated violations, bikes deemed improperly stored, babies' cries labeled excessive noise. Karen's rules were a facade for discrimination, backed by Carl's political clout to push a luxury condo development that favored compliant, affluent residents over transient military families. Marcus, trained to dismantle criminal networks, saw the HOA as a corrupt enterprise. He contacted the Judge Advocate General, JAG, where Staff Sergeant Patricia Williams reviewed his case with growing outrage. The Jeep wasn't just Marcus's property, it was federal equipment, its removal a felony under the Service Members Civil Relief Act, which protects deployed personnel from property harassment. Williams filed a complaint with Base Command, triggering a federal liaison review. Karen's actions had caught the attention of authorities far beyond her suburban domain. Maya, fueled by her teacher's instinct for justice, began quietly rallying affected families. She documented violations, collecting stories of harassment that painted a picture of systematic targeting. The community's fear of Karen's retaliation began to crack as whispers turned to plans. Marcus, coordinating via encrypted channels, activated the Jeep's hidden GPS and cameras, capturing Karen's repeated trespasses, 17 in 3 days, photographing classified equipment. This wasn't just HOA overreach, it was potential espionage. Karen, sensing resistance, escalated her tactics. She hired ExecSafe Security, a firm of overzealous guards who patrolled Willowbrook, documenting the Jeep hourly as a security risk. They spread rumors, painting Marcus as a dangerous veteran, eroding Maya's standing at her school. Parents questioned her fitness to teach, citing military instability. The neighborhood's harmony frayed, with neighbors like Mrs. Patterson, a 91-year-old widow of 2 veterans, watching in dismay as fear replaced community spirit. As Maya faced mounting pressure, Marcus planned his counterstrike, knowing Karen's hubris would be her downfall. The Jeep's surveillance footage, now in federal hands, documented her every move, tightening the noose around her suburban empire. The dramatic loop of Karen's tyranny tightened as Willowbrook became a battleground of whispers and defiance. Her security patrols intensified, the white SUV with ExecSafe emblazoned on its sides circling like a vulture. Neighbors reported petty violations, untrimmed hedges, unapproved mailbox colors, fueling a climate of paranoia. Karen's notices flooded mailboxes, each one a reminder of her unchecked power. But cracks appeared in her facade as residents, emboldened by Maya's quiet outreach, began to question her authority. Maya's investigation deepened, her teacher's knack for pattern recognition uncovering a web of corruption. HOA financial records buried in Rosa's files showed $184,000 diverted to Carl's development company through fake consulting contracts. A contract with Eastbrook Development Corporation revealed a plan to acquire 47 properties, including Rosa's, for luxury condos. Military families, elderly residents, and others unable to fight back were targeted for forced sales at below-market prices. Karen's violations were a tool to destabilize and displace, a scheme masked as community governance. Marcus, coordinating from overseas, felt the weight of his grandmother's lessons: stand up to bullies, but do it right. He escalated his response. alerting his task force supervisor, Captain Sarah Chen. The Jeep's security footage revealed Karen and her guards examining its interior at 1:43 a.m., photographing classified equipment, an act bordering on espionage. Chen's response was swift. ExecSafe's actions triggered a federal investigation into unauthorized surveillance of government property. The guards vanished overnight, their company facing scrutiny that threatened its license. Karen, undeterred, doubled down. She filed complaints with every local agency, police, fire, code enforcement, claiming the Jeep posed hazards. Her desperation showed as she spread rumors about Marcus's dangerous military activities impacting Maya's career. The school principal called Maya in, citing community concerns about her brother's instability. The neighborhood's social fabric unraveled, with once friendly neighbors like Mrs. Patterson shunned for supporting Maya. Maya, now a reluctant warrior, organized a covert network of residents. The Hendersons, Martinezes, and others shared stories of harassment, their evidence piling up. A Vietnam veteran, Tom Henderson, rallied his peers, their combat boots a quiet presence on nighttime patrols to deter Karen's schemes. Maya's discovery of violation notices sent to Rosa during her hospice care, citations for property maintenance failures, ignited a personal fury. The stress had exacerbated Rosa's condition, her final days haunted by fears of losing her home. Loop of drama spun faster as Karen's actions grew reckless. She confronted Maya at the grocery store, her tone dripping with condescension, suggesting the family relocate to a more suitable neighborhood. Maya, recording discreetly, captured evidence of intimidation. Marcus, watching the footage from a desert bunker, felt rage tempered by strategy. The Jeep's kill switch and trackers, standard for task force vehicles, had alerted Homeland Security, escalating Karen's theft to a national security issue. As the community teetered on the edge, Maya's resolve hardened. She collected signatures for an HOA board recall, leveraging bylaws that required only 25% resident approval. The neighborhood, once cowed, began to rise, setting the stage for a confrontation that would expose Karen's empire and restore justice. Karen's desperation reached a fever pitch, her actions spiraling into a vortex of self-destruction. The recall petition, now with 67% of residents' signatures, loomed like a guillotine. She responded with suburban warfare, hiring Morrison and Associates, a PR firm known for sanitizing political scandals, to smear Marcus and Maya. Anonymous. Complaints flooded Maya's school, accusing her of radicalizing students with anti-government rhetoric. Parents demanded her dismissal, citing her ties to a dangerous veteran. The scent of chalk dust in Maya's classroom now carried the sting of betrayal. Maya's car was vandalized, tires slashed, military scum scrawled in red paint. Death threats arrived, anonymous notes and distorted voicemails warning of accidents. The crunch of glass under Maya's feet as she surveyed the damage echoed Marcus's helplessness from 8,000 miles away. But Maya's recordings captured a guard admitting to investigating the Jeep's equipment, turning their intimidation into federal evidence. Marcus, via Captain Chen, secured a protective detail for Maya, federal agents blending into Willowbrook's daily life, watching the watchers. Karen's sabotage escalated at 3:17 a.m. when Maya's infrared cameras caught her burning HOA records in Rosa's backyard. The acrid smell of lighter fluid and charred paper drifted through the night, a desperate attempt to erase evidence of embezzlement. Federal surveillance teams, already monitoring her, documented every move. Her private investigators, hired with misappropriated HOA funds, planted listening devices in Maya's car, triggering Wiretap Act violations with terrorism enhancements. The community's resistance grew bolder. Mrs. Patterson, fueled by memories of her fallen sons, organized neighbors into a protective shield around Rosa's house. Tom Henderson's veteran network patrolled, their presence a quiet rebuke to Karen's hired muscle. Maya's teacher union leveraged media connections, turning her story into a viral cause. Military Times ran headlines about suburban warfare against service families, drawing congressional attention. 3 representatives demanded briefings on HOA discrimination, amplifying the pressure. Carl's corruption surfaced in city council recordings, where he pressured the police chief to ignore military complaints, framing them as threats to community character. His development deal, tied to Eastbrook's condo project, unraveled as media exposed his role. Karen's bribery attempt, offering Maya $50,000 to leave, backfired when recorded by federal agents. Her attempt to bribe those agents, assuming they were as corrupt as her allies, added more charges to her growing list. The loop of drama reached its zenith as Karen filed false police reports, claiming Maya was unstable and planning violent retaliation. These lies, intended to discredit, became federal obstruction charges. The neighborhood, once paralyzed, now rallied behind Maya. Their collective fury, a force Karen couldn't contain. As federal agents prepared their final move, Willowbrook stood on the brink of a reckoning, the Jeep's significance about to explode into public view. The Willowbrook Community Center, once Karen's stage for HOA dominance, became ground zero for her downfall. Packed with residents, veterans, and media, the room buzzed with anticipation. Federal agents lined the walls, their presence a silent promise of justice. Congressional representatives sat up front, noting details for upcoming hearings. Karen arrived in her Lexus, her heels clicking defiantly, but the chants of military families matter drowned her out. Carl trailed, his posture defeated, sensing the end. Maya, transformed from a timid teacher to a national advocate, took the podium. Her voice, steady and commanding, detailed 5 years of Karen's tyranny, fabricated rules, embezzlement, discrimination. The crowd roared, windows rattling with their approval. Federal prosecutor Rebecca Martinez followed, unveiling evidence of a criminal enterprise, theft of federal property, civil rights violations, witness intimidation, and fraud. Each charge landed like a hammer, shattering Karen's illusion of invincibility. Marcus, stateside at last, spoke next, his words carrying the weight of his grandmother's legacy. The Jeep, he revealed, wasn't just a vehicle but a federal asset, critical to cartel investigations. Karen's lock-cutting had compromised national security, a crime far beyond HOA overreach. The room gasped as the scope of her folly emerged. She'd mistaken a task force vehicle for a soldier's toy, triggering Homeland Security protocols. Tom Henderson, voice trembling with decades of service, condemned Karen's attack on military, families, the community's unity. Veterans, neighbors, even children chanting support overwhelmed her defenses. Federal Marshal Jennifer Torres approached with handcuffs, arresting Karen for theft, conspiracy, embezzlement, and obstruction. The click of cuffs echoed, broadcast live to millions. Carl's attempt to flee was thwarted, his arrest a quiet coda to his wife's dramatic fall. The Jeep's retrieval, under federal escort, symbolized victory. Maya's evidence, financial records, surveillance footage, resident testimonies, became a RICO case, exposing a multi-state HOA conspiracy. Karen's empire crumbled, her home seized for a veteran memorial park, a testament to the community's resilience. As the dust settled, Willowbrook exhaled, ready to heal under new leadership. 18 months later, Willowbrook Estates was unrecognizable. Karen's 8-year federal sentence with $647,000 in restitution marked the end of her reign. Carl's 6-year term and ban from public office dismantled his influence. Their development scheme collapsed, with $2.3 million in settlements compensating affected families. Maya, now HOA president, implemented the Willowbrook Military Family Bill of Rights, a national model for protecting service members. Rosa's house became the Rodriguez Foundation, aiding military families against HOA abuse. Maya, married to a Navy veteran, led advocacy efforts, her methods taught at FBI academies. The Tank Rodriguez Act mandated HOA transparency, ensuring federal oversight. Property values soared 31%, attracting military families to a now welcoming community. The Veteran Memorial Park, where Karen's house once stood, hosted Freedom Day celebrations, filled with laughter and pride. Marcus settled with prosecutor. Elena Martinez found peace in the neighborhood they'd saved. The Rodriguez Scholarship Fund sent 23 military children to college, a legacy of Rosa's lessons. If you've faced HOA tyranny or discrimination, share your story below. The Rodriguez Foundation offers free legal aid to military families. Subscribe for more tales of community triumph and hit the bell to join the fight for justice. Together, we prove that no bully, suburban or otherwise, can outlast a united community standing for what's right.